Howl is here. This is before we're starting properly because he doesn't trust me to start properly.
Well,
Because
he failed to stop
yes,
it properly.
Yes, he has created this whole thing. I don't understand what OBS is. Howl, who's never used it before, magically does understand. I don't understand, but I put it on a tiara, which in its way is also an achievement.
Is it?
We're going to be discussing the age-old problem of should a woman choose marriage or a career, because everyone knows you can't have both.
Well,
you can't have both. So
Obviously.
Charlie Kirk has both. Well, he doesn't. Obviously. But he did have both.
Yes.
But this is actually a Charlie Kirk clip from the Whatever podcast, in which he tries to, I think, persuade OF models that they should choose marriage instead of a career.
Right.
That's what my expectations are.
Just like his wife didn't.
Just like his wife didn't.
Ready?
I mean, yes.
He says that it's me that stopped you being ready, rather than it being you sitting here waiting like a rabbit. I'd had my lunch. I could come and set this all up for you. So now it's me that's holding you up by getting in your way of
This
your
is the
career.
problem with having a marriage, is it just interrupts your career.
But since you've only got this career because of your husband...
Well, hello friends, and welcome to Ariel's Twilight Years, how to be a really, really, really old model. Since Charlie Kirk has been assassinated, everyone's making videos about him, and I was determined not to do any such thing. Until I realised he'd made lots of videos about me, or not me specifically, but OnlyFans models. Not that actually these days I really use OnlyFans, because I think it's become a bit of a cesspit. I still have an account, but I no longer promote it, and I only update it once a week. So it's not where I make my money anymore. But in the last 3 weeks, at the time of recording since Charlie Kirk's death, I have seen, as I'm sure many other people have seen, this great profusion of comments on his work from people who didn't agree with him, who of course select videos that show him in his worst light, and people who did agree with him, and of course they choose videos that show him in his very best light, at least in their own minds. So that doesn't seem like a particularly balanced way, of course, to make a judgment. So I thought maybe what I would do, since I've seen so much stuff like this, is watch him talking about a subject that I am expert on, so that's sex work, and just assess what his behaviour towards people in my line of work was. Because obviously what the world needs is another person's hot take on Charlie Kirk. But because I am seeing what looks to me like quite a whitewash of his behaviour online from right-wing commentators, I just thought I would like to add my voice when it comes to him talking about something I know about. Because when you see, especially a very good speaker, a very articulate speaker, talking on a subject you don't know much about, it's very, very easy to be convinced by what they say. And it's not till you see that speaker talk about something you're expert in that sometimes their argument falls apart, or sometimes you realise, yeah, absolutely, they're correct. They have really researched this, and their comments are valuable. So I found a video which is just a short clip. It's like 15 minutes from the Whatever podcast. So Charlie Kirk appeared on this massive podcast several times, I think. And in this particular clip, he is talking to, I think they might all be OnlyFans performers, or some of them might be OnlyFans performers, but the subject is, I believe, going to be OnlyFans. I've not watched it, so my reaction is going to be truthful. I've not prepared for this, so I want to approach it with as open a mind as I can. I don't have an open mind when it comes to the Whatever podcast, because I think they exploit women. I think they seem to select women who are particularly badly prepared to talk about this kind of stuff. I think they create a hostile environment because they have live stream comments appearing, which the women on the podcast can see. And those comments seem to regularly be pretty abusive towards those women, very personal ad hominem attacks towards them. And I think Brian tends to be biased in favour of the men on his podcast as opposed to the women, which is odd because I think it's the women who are really bringing in the audiences. I think it's the fact that he's got sex workers on his podcast on a very regular basis. That is one of the reasons it's become such a big podcast. So in my mind, that makes him kind of sex work adjacent himself. I think that's a rather pimpy thing to do, to be a man making money off the labour of female sex workers. I mean, I wouldn't say he's exactly a pimp, but I think it's rather closer to pimping than he probably would be comfortable with if he was capable of looking at his behaviour with some distance. So anyway, let's get started. Let's see what Charlie Kirk has to say to some OnlyFans performers. I have to say, before I actually start the video though, I'm just looking on my phone now to confirm this, that this is, as I said, a clip that Charlie Kirk put up on YouTube, although it's from the Whatever podcast. And he or a member of his team labelled this, titled this as OF, stands for OnlyFans, models in inverted commas, get massive wake-up call. The putting of the word models into inverted commas suggests that he doesn't think they're models. And that makes me very frustrated because I've been a professional model for 21 years and I started doing OnlyFans modelling in 2016. And I can tell you with all of this experience that OnlyFans modelling is modelling because you are taking photographs of yourself in outfits just like you would at any other professional shoot, except at a professional shoot, normally someone else will be photographing you. The only thing that is different about OnlyFans as opposed to a regular photo shoot is that not only are you the model, you are also the photographer. I do not know why people who are comfortable calling professional models models, whether they worked in glamour or fashion or artistic nude, the fact that they want to call OnlyFans performers something other than models is simply because they are being judgmental. They want to call us online whores or something equally critical. And I think it's absolutely abysmal, and also I think it's just not factual. The product on OnlyFans is, to a first approximation, stills and video content of the model / performer modelling / performing. I would tend to go for the word performer rather than model these days because I think it's a bit more of an accurate depiction of what I'm actually doing, given that more of my work is video than stills. But yes, it's modelling. And the fact that you're selling it directly to your customers as opposed to selling your time to a photographer who then sells the product to his customers, it makes absolutely no moral difference at all. And your skill as a model is required in the exact same way as in a classical modelling profession. In fact, more skill is required, you could argue, because you have to photograph and process those images yourself. So, to begin with, I'm not very pleased about the title because I think what it's very likely to be doing is predisposing the audience to think that these models aren't real models, that they're just what? Whores, sluts, 304s? Let's find out.
If you had to choose between, if you could only pick one, marriage or career, which would you choose? If you had to choose. Can we do that?
Yeah, can I add one thing? So is it great, amazing career or beautiful, healthy family?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay, that was
if you had to choose. Now, you can have both in life, but if you could only pick one.
Interesting question from someone who had both. So Charlie Kirk had a very impressive career and he was married with beautiful, healthy children. Interesting that he's about to ask this all-female panel which they choose, as though they're not allowed to have both, but okay, it's a hypothetical. I'm going to let that go. I'm going to try to be fair, yes.
I would say marriage.
Marriage.
Yeah, the healthy family.
Family.
Marriage. 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 Marriage.
Marriage. And can I answer the other question?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So I actually want to back him up on, you're not really in your prime once you turn 30. I know I got married at age 23. I mean, I was pretty, I was an athlete, married the wrong guy, became obese.
Oof.
Yeah, not now, obviously. But yeah, once I divorced him after I turned 30, the dating pool was vastly smaller.
Well, thank you for defending me. I could have used you a couple months ago. So
I'm a Phoenix, so.
no, that's right. We should talk. No, and the last question that I'll ask is I want you to think about it. If every single one of you said marriage, are you making deliberate steps every day to get closer to that goal, or are you making steps to get closer to the career goal?
This premise is very odd. So he started off talking about it like it's a hypothetical. If you could only have one, which would you have? But now he's asking them about their actual real lives, whether, I'm so confused by this, whether they're taking steps to achieve one or the other. Again, as though you can't take steps to getting both. Very strange. Very strange. And I wonder where he's going with this. Let's find out.
Starting with you, go ahead.
Because I believe that in a marriage, since you're coming together as a contractual agreement, I do want to provide to a certain extent, just in case my husband can't.
Yeah.
I am going towards a career.
Okay.
At the moment.
No, and I only ask just, and again, we don't have to go on the horn. I think it's important, though, to answer your question. Far too often, we do not tell young ladies, if you have to prioritize one more than the other, would you rather have your tombstone say, CEO of a shoe company, or loving mother of 3 children and a wife?
Okay, well, that's a very biased way of saying things, because it's not like everyone's family works out splendidly well. So it's not as though you'll necessarily have lovely, loving family members to write that on your tombstone. Families don't always work out that well. And then his alternative vision for your future is CEO of a shoe company. I think he's just... And I have heard him talk about women's careers like this before. He always seems to choose such incredibly grim examples. I mean, probably being a CEO of a shoe company would have many good things about it. It's just, there are, obviously, if you choose to prioritise your career as a woman or as anybody, you're likely to have chosen a career that you are rather passionate about. And also, if you are a CEO of a shoe company, what's to say that your tombstone might not say beloved CEO of a shoe company? You could still be loved. You could still be really valued. Being a wife and mother is not the only thing that can make you loved or valued in our lives or in our society. And so he's created this sort of bleak, lonely vision of being a CEO who obviously can't also have a family or loving wife and mother. And obviously, it is perfectly possible that you could have both. And your tombstone could potentially reflect both those realities. I know he's trying to create a simplified hypothetical, but I think he's veering towards talking about these women's actual lives. So I think it's worth flagging up at this point. Those are not your two choices. You can have both, and people do on a regular basis have both.
And if you would rather have loving mother and, of 3 children and a wife, then you should prioritize that more in your early 20s than your career or going to college. Because the tragedy is there are far more single early 30-something women in this country than married 30-something women in this country. It's the fertility rate's the lowest ever been, marriage rate's the lowest ever been, and it's because we tell young ladies you can wait forever to do this, and that's not the case for everybody. It's the case for some people.
Oh, it is the case for some people, including his wife. So he married Eric Kirk, who is older than him, I think by maybe 5 years. So I think she was in her late 20s when they first got together. but she was in her early 30s by the time they had children. So yes, there are exceptions, including you, Charlie. So it just seems like kind of exceptionalism. He's saying, really, for me and my wife, it's okay. She was allowed to go and study and start a career before she got married and have children. But you shouldn't aim that high. You should be prioritizing finding a man and having children in your 20s. Just, if you were going to be even-handed about that, and if you were going to prioritize finding a woman in her early 20s and having children with her, that might be one thing. But the fact is, the reality of his life was not that. And I really hope I would have the integrity in a situation like that to admit to it, rather than telling these women to do something that his own wife really didn't do.
But not the case for everybody. And I think it's a tragedy.
I think, well, even you have a family, you should.
I'm trying here, man.
Even when you have a family, you should still have, like, what happens when the kids are done and they graduate and they move on out of the nest? What does a woman do then?
Granted.
Does woman just take care? Well, that's assuming
That's
that
a
your-
really
your
smart
children
question, though.
want to.
In fact, we are doing everything the opposite. We should say, focus on family formation in your early 20s, then go to college in your late 30s.
Sure. But what if you marry the
College
wrong
will always be
person?
there.
Or
No, that's a very fair point. Love and life come with a huge risk.
sure.
But the greater risk is dying alone.
But I feel
Everyone can die alone. I mean, anyone can die alone. Like, your bad luck in terms of losing your family young can happen to anybody, I think. And I think it is so supremely selfish to have a family because you don't want to die alone. I don't think that is a good reason to have children. I mean, I can understand that it's a nice side effect of having a family, that you might have a higher chance of there being people around your bedside when you're dying. But the idea of specifically having children so that you won't need to be on your own on your deathbed, it just seems so profoundly selfish. I mean, the idea of having your children young and then going off to college in your 30s or 40s and starting a career, I mean, it sounds really nice, but from talking to older people entering the labour market, it sounds like things are rather canted against them, because employers seem to really, really like taking on young people who might stick with the industry they choose for 40 years. I'm not sure that's a realistic thing to ask. I feel like a sort of a 45-year-old woman who's just graduated law school might be treated with a fair amount of suspicion and distaste by employers, especially when they could take on a 45-year-old woman who's already been practicing law for 20 years. I just don't really buy the realism of that. Sure, you could set up on your own, as I have, as a self-employed person. You don't actually need an employer, you just need a whole load of clients. But on the other hand, me now at 48 has got 21 plus years of experience in my field, and it's what makes me good at my job. And the idea of beginning my job or any job at that age seems rather daunting, because, I mean, how do you compete with men in the same field who will have spent that 20 or 25 year period getting really good, potentially, at their jobs? It sounds a little bit idealistic, and I don't really trust it. I think he's kind of holding out this golden carrot of, look, if you just do what I want you to do, which is get married and have children, no, you will be able to have a career as well eventually. I just don't think that is necessarily true or fair.
I feel like we also have to acknowledge the fact that one of the reasons why so many women don't want to prioritize marriage right now, just straight out of you're 18, let's work on getting married and having kids and then think about college, is because college gives you so many opportunities that, like, you can focus and work on that directly. You come out of college, you have all these open doors. Whereas if you're 18 and you decide not to go to college because you want to prioritize a marriage, that can go wrong in so many other ways where you have no backup plan. Now you're 25 making minimum wage, so much farther behind towards a marriage than the woman who already graduated college, who has financial stability to be able to have kids and provide for her kids. So that's where like
That's a fair point. You could always go back to college. I'll reiterate that. However, that's not the problem in America. The problem.
Yeah, but how do you go back to college if you have to leave your horrible abusive first relationship? You've already got a child or two because Charlie Kirk said you should. Like, how do you fund yourself going back to college if your first marriage doesn't work out? Which it may well not. A lot of our first relationships don't work out because we're not necessarily that smart at choosing. Certainly the boys I dated from the age of kind of 18 to 25, I wouldn't want to be married to any of them. I certainly wouldn't have wanted to start a family with them. I don't think that's a realistic thing to say, and I think her point is right, that then you're so vulnerable if your relationship doesn't work out and you've got nothing to fall back on.
Right now, as it is, because the problem you're talking about was the problem in the 1960s, which is what Gloria Steinem said. If my husband left, I would have no way to feed myself. That was the core essence of her critique. Like, if my husband left, I would be having to go to get food stamps because I have no skills except being a stay-at-home mom, which, by the way, is like the most important thing ever, being a stay-at-home mom, but that's a separate issue. So, but right now in America, we've gone to the other extreme, which is you can delay it, you can have kids whenever you want. And we have 15 to 20 million single women in the country that have great careers.
And I feel like another reason why women right now, it's so hard for them to just prioritize having kids, because if you haven't gone to college, got the education, you don't have a husband who also is very financially stable, who's gonna provide for those kids? You know what I mean?
Well,
we're in times where it's so
I don't sympathize with that argument as much. First of all, if you get married, by definition, your costs go down because you have two people then paying for rent, right? Or for a mortgage. So you can actually consolidate income. But studies actually show men earn more as soon as they get married and have children. Something primal kicks into us. We take a second job. We work extra hours. We figure it out. Men are actually...
And like, I'm sorry, this is not really a comment on the sexism of that. It's a comment on the brutality of that. I do not think that is something that you should be aspiring to. As a young American man, you shouldn't be having to take like extra work, especially in the early stages of making your marriage work. And what kind of life is that for a stay-at-home wife and mother who doesn't get to see her husband because he's going and doing a night shift after his day shift to keep the family supported? I mean, I've never felt like that was going to be something I'd have to do, but even just supporting yourself at difficult points in your life can be hard, let alone the pressure of being told, right, you're the head of a family now, you need to provide financially, even if that means that you have to work, you know, like 60-hour weeks. That just seems like such a brutally capitalist pressure to put on like a young man or anyone. And he says it like that's kind of a noble, glorious thing. And I think it's probably really, really easy to say that as a podcaster / pundit, because working long hours in this profession is really fun. But if your job is something a lot more physical, a blue collar job, then like, just God help you having to do not only a full-time job of that, but then another job on top of that. It just seems so cruel.
Men are super simple, women are very complicated.
What? Oh my God. Oh my God. I forgot he was going to do that. Men are super simple, women are very, very complicated. That's just how it is. That's how it is. Oh, that's quite annoying. I don't think that's true. I think I know many, many rather complicated men.
Feel appreciated, we feel noticed, and we feel special, and we see our role and our purpose. We will go to the ends of the earth to feed our family. We'll figure it out. And I think we're underselling American men. We say, oh, you know, I wait until I'm 27 or 28. That's fine, but look at the cost of that. And the cost is Right now, just as we're clear, we are on pace 10 years out from now. We're going to have 20 million 40-something women that never got married or have kids, but they have big apartments and they go on lots of vacations. And I also think that's one of the reasons we're seeing the suicide rate, the anxiety problems, the depression problems in our country. Do you have a thought? Or
Yeah, I just feel like how many people that are like, or how many males are that are 20 are like ready to get married and like ready to
great
have a
question.
family.
So the question is, which one leads which? Men, yes, but in the 1950s or 1960s, the time we're supposed to hate, young ladies looked at it was my task to find a husband before the age of 25. And it was like the most important thing for them. Now, that came with a lot of costs. Some people would say that it was handcuffs and, being in prison. But
and also marrying unsuitable men. I mean, historically, rates of domestic abuse and intimate partner violence were hideously high, based on what I've read. And women tolerated it a lot more readily back then, but okay.
First and foremost, no offense to my two Australian friends, got off of OnlyFans and stopped, posting naked pictures of themselves online and made themselves harder to get. Men would step up to the plate. One of the reasons why men are grown infants is because women are so easy to get right now in America.
I think that's just, I think I've just jumped forward. Sorry, I just want to go back. I think I jumped.
Your costs go down because you have two.
Oh no, maybe I didn't. Sorry.
Noticed, and we feel special, and we see our role and our purpose. We will go to the ends of the earth to feed our family.
You shouldn't have to, but okay.
Underselling American men. We say, oh, I wait until I'm 27 or 28. That's fine, but look at the cost of that. And the cost is, right now, just as we're clear, we are on pace 10 years out from now. We're going to have 20 million 40-something women that never got married or have kids, but they have big apartments and they go on lots of vacations.
I don't see why that's a problem. One of the things that I have seen since Charlie Kirk's death is I've seen multiple videos and quotes from him about how it's disastrous that the population might start to decline. And I don't think I agree. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing in itself at all. I don't want us to go extinct, but if fewer people got married and had children as long as they were happy, I think that would be absolutely fine.
And I also think that's one of the reasons we're seeing the suicide rate, the anxiety problems, the depression problems in our country. Do you have a thought? Or
Yeah, I just feel like how many people that are like, or how many males are that are 20 are like ready to get married and like ready to
great
have a
question.
family.
So the question is, which one leads which? Men, yes, but in the 1950s or 1960s, the time we're supposed to hate, young.
I don't think we're supposed to hate it.
Tasked to find a husband before the age of 25, and it was like the most important thing for them.
Yes, and they sometimes chose dreadfully badly because of that pressure put on them.
Cost. Some people would say that it was handcuffs and being in prison, but if young ladies, first and foremost, no offense to my two Australian friends, got off of OnlyFans and stopped posting naked pictures of themselves online and made themselves harder to get, men would step up to the plate.
Just because there are like naked pictures of you online, it doesn't mean you're easy to get. This is one of the problems when conservative commentators specifically equate taking photographs of yourself and selling them on OnlyFans with actual prostitution. They seem to miss the fact that when you're selling photographs of yourself or when someone else is selling photographs of you, no one gets you. No one gets to have sex with you, but no one even gets to spend time with you. They don't get to date you. They just get to look at you. And I feel like, of all people, Charlie Kirk should maybe understand that because his wife, before they were married, was in beauty pageants. And I would guess that if I'd had a chance to ask Charlie Kirk, do you feel like your wife actually slept with loads and loads of people before you because they saw her in her bikini? Like, I would hope he would say no, because modelling in a bikini is not the same as having like loads and loads of partners. So being an OnlyFans performer or any kind of model doesn't make you in any way easier to get. in terms of, like, you know, easier to date or even easier to have sex with. What a puzzle. And he says these things with such conviction. I mean, he's very articulate. And I like it that he is at least using a really pleasant tone with these women so far, which I do appreciate, because I've certainly heard him use a much less pleasant tone in other debates. But what the content of what he's actually saying, in contrast to his delivery, is kind of monstrous to me.
One of the reasons why men are grown infants is because women are so easy to get right now in America. There's no desire, there's no hunt, there's no search. So you could be
If they're that easy to get, why are there all these incels who say it's impossible to get a woman? Oh God, the logic of this is defeating me. It doesn't make any sense. What I need is a can of Monster. My God. Is he saying women are hard to get? Because didn't he just say women are really easy to get because they're on OnlyFans? Which is it? Or am I getting confused? I'm not sponsored by Monster, but I'd really like to be.
grown infant, you can get sex. But it used to be in 1950s, young women would be like, I'm not giving myself over to you. You're a man-child. Like, you don't even pay rent. You have nothing going for you. When now, unfortunately, you can pay $10 a month to go see a woman naked. No offense. Well, actually, kind of offensive.
Yeah, but that's not the same as a relationship, is it? I mean, you could go and buy, oh my God, you could go and buy playing cards with naked women on the back in the 50s. You could look at women for free or for not very much money in the 50s. The same as you can now. But those pin-up models on the back of playing cards wouldn't be your wife. This is an incredibly obvious point. I can't believe anyone's letting him get away with saying this. Please let one of them argue back. It's just they seem to choose such meek women to come on these shows. And I guess fair enough, like the women who aren't meek, like me, just wouldn't go on one of these shows because I think things are so canted against you with an audience of men writing abusive comments, which are being broadcast. I mean, I just wouldn't put myself in that sort of situation. And I guess the sort of women who are prepared to maybe aren't prepared to argue. But okay, let's carry on.
But
Aren't
that's
you
a
guys
separate
like
issue.
$5?
But
Yeah, I think.
Sorry.
but I'm saying,
I think that's quite deliberately humiliating. And again, it's because they're equating actual prostitution, like having actual sex for money, with letting someone buy your content. Of course, a lot of OnlyFans creators will charge only $5 or $10 a month, but you don't, I cannot reiterate this enough, you don't get the woman for that. It's not like she's selling sex with you for $5. And they know that. Like, I don't have a particularly high opinion of Brian Atlas's intellect, but I think he knows that. I think they're acting deliberately obtuse about what access to someone's OnlyFans actually gets you. It doesn't get you sex with the performer.
That's okay.
but to my OnlyFans friends here, do you think that you both want to get married, right, and have children?
Yeah, of course.
Do you think that you are more desirable or less desirable to a future husband when you post suggestive or naked pictures online?
Jesus Christ, Charlie. Oh, it depends on the husband, doesn't it? Like, my husband is a bondage photographer. And so to him, my skills as a bondage model were very valuable. It also, the fact that our professions were rather symbiotic meant we had stuff in common. Some men would be horrified to have a model as a wife or a partner. We see this with all sorts of models or any women in the public eye. Some men cannot cope. Some men cannot cope with having lots of men fancy their woman. That's true. Some men can't stand it. Some men absolutely love it, and that can be problematic in itself because that can lead to rather pimpy, exploitative behaviour as they try to get their woman more male attention. And then there's a whole bunch of men in the middle who probably are fairly unmoved by it one way or the other. the idea, I think what Charlie's doing here is he's having a kind of failure of empathy in understanding that not all men are like him. But that said, even he seemed totally happy to marry someone who had paraded in a bikini in front of the world. And I don't say this as a criticism. I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with entering a beauty pageant and posing in a bikini. I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. But it certainly didn't seem to turn Charlie Kirk off the woman he married, the mother of his children. So why?
I think that we're entitled just as much as other people.
No, you're totally entitled. You have freedom to do it. I'm asking a different question. Are you more desirable or less desirable for a man?
It's always been the same for me. Like,
Yeah,
I would
depends on the man.
receive love the same way, and that's pretty. Like, I don't really receive it. They all look at.
Okay, I just want to... No, I can't zoom in. Sorry. I want to see what the comment is because I think it's very likely to be quite abusive. But I might be wrong. Sorry.
Me the same from the beginning.
How do you know how men look at you?
Because when I talk to them, like, I usually fall head over heels for them, and they all view me the same way. So whether or not I'm doing OnlyFans and selling my body, or not doing OnlyFans and selling my body, I'm still like looked at the same way. They still think that of me.
Yeah, you don't know the male mind very well.
But they've already told me them.
Oh gosh, like obviously I don't know what she does on her OnlyFans, but it's sad to hear a woman referring to her work as selling her body. One, because we could say that under capitalism we all sell our bodies. I mean, some of us sell our bodies and our brains. Some of us just basically sell our brains and our time. Some of us sell more of our bodies like a professional athlete or someone whose job is very physical, like a refuse collection. I really hate it when women kind of accept that judgment of their work, if they're a sex worker, that, oh yeah, that's selling your body. No, you're selling your time and your skill, and you're selling your physical appearance, which is no different from any kind of model or anyone in Hollywood.
Themselves, like,
And men are really good liars. Do you know that?
True.
Then how do you know they're telling the truth?
I don't know. I just take their word for it.
You just said they're good liars.
Well, I don't know.
I'd say a lot of the guys that I know are more, I guess, the higher value type guys.
And there's
They
actually
don't take OnlyFans girls seriously.
No, yeah, just-
yeah,
They will never
but
look at them for marriage.
some people actually do want OnlyFans women and want to marry OnlyFans women and have
Yeah.
OnlyFans women.
Erroneous!
But very few.
Erroneous!
Well, hold on. Do you think those
Not
men-
very few. Not very few. Okay, I don't know who this woman is, but she's sitting next to Charlie Kirk, so I'm just going to assume she's of a similar opinion to Charlie Kirk. But no, that's not true. A lot of my model friends and performer friends do OnlyFans. And if they don't, we're still in the same industry anyway. And off the top of my head, I can only think of one of my female friends who's actually single. Most of us are married because most of my friends aren't in their early 20s anymore. Most of us are just happily married. And it hasn't been difficult to attract husbands. This is just pie in the sky nonsense as far as I can see. I'm sure there are lots of men who would loudly declare that they wouldn't want OnlyFans models as wives, but we don't need to have those men. It's not like you need a million husbands, you only need one if you're planning to make it last. And so you just need to find one who's not judgmental about your job. And in my experience, that has not been difficult at all. And again, it just feels like they are not taking into account the fact that people's priorities are really different. I mean, just the fact that she made reference to high value men, as though what makes a man high value is sort of standard across all of the people who might want to date a man. I've talked about this a little bit before, that I'm very lucky. I'm really happily married. I just had my 13th wedding anniversary with my husband, Howell. I think I should say we. That makes me sound less narcissistic. My husband and I just celebrated our 13th wedding anniversary. And we talk quite a lot about this sort of stuff. And I've been thinking about what made him initially high value to me. And yeah, he was clever. He'd got a PhD. I suppose I found that kind of reassuring because I thought we'd have plenty of interesting things to talk about. Yes, he was in the same industry as me, so I felt like we'd understand each other. At the time I met him, I think he probably made more money than me. And that's seesawed since. But I'm not sure that was really a kind of large draw to him. I mean, two of the things that made him really high value to me were that he was really good at listening. He didn't want to just blat on about himself constantly. So I felt like he was getting to know me as I was getting to know him, and I really prioritised quality of conversation in all of my relationships, not just my romantic relationships. And another thing that made him very high value to me is he had also suffered with some long-term health conditions, and I knew I had a rather difficult long-term health condition that I was dealing with at the time, and I thought that the fact that he had had some physical fragilities of his own would make him more likely to be compassionate to the fact that I had quite a lot of my own physical limitations, because I thought that maybe when we started dating, I was 29. You know, a lot of other men my age probably wouldn't have really understood chronic illness because they were really healthy themselves and had always been healthy. So when you start talking about high value men as though all women want the same qualities in a man, I just think it's absolute nonsense. I'm sure it's not nonsense for all women, because I think some women are probably quite shallow, looking for high status. They're looking for a man who can raise their status. Probably there are some women like that. But to kind of stereotype all women as though what we all want is a man who's rich and taller than us and has a nice car. This is just rubbish. And I think specifically women who've gone into sex work are particularly unlikely to prioritise men making a lot of money, because we make a lot of money. We're in one of the few professions where being a woman can really pay off for you. So my husband's financial status is far less important to me than if I wanted to be a ceramic artist, where I probably wouldn't make much money. It's just nonsense. Oh dear. It's very frustrating.
And are virtuous, high-quality men that won't cheat on you?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
It doesn't sound like it, but it's actually really normalized in my area. Like,
No, the fact that it's normalized is not the point. The point is it good? Is it right to post suggestive pictures of yourself online, number one? And does it get closer to your goal of being married for the rest of your life with a soulmate that you love?
It's fine, Charlie. You married someone who'd won a beauty pageant. You had children with her. And you referred to her as your soulmate. So, yes, it's fine.
I feel like, obviously, like, I want to get married, and obviously, like, I feel like if I was with a guy and he didn't accept my past, I wouldn't want to be with him.
No.
If you're still doing it.
If he
you quit,
accept it, then...
So let me ask you a hypothetical. If you met a man and he says, I'm earning $2 million a year, would you quit OnlyFans?
Okay, like that, yes. If they can make as much as I can, then yes, I'll
So you would quit OnlyFans?
But if they're going to say, like, stop doing it, but they're not doing anything with their life, then no, I'm not going to stop.
So it's just purely financial for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Would you agree it's just purely financial for you?
Literally, yeah.
Okay. Do you think that you have more to offer to the world than your body?
Of course.
Yeah.
Then why don't you do that?
Because I just chose not to.
Yeah.
Because you chose, but I know, but don't you think
I mean, we have more to offer, but we also want to be able to travel and explore.
Okay,
You know
no, now
what I
we're
mean?
getting somewhere. So you want a fun life.
Yeah, a
Yes.
great life, but we
Okay.
can travel, like, live our life, like, young.
Everything in life comes with a cost.
Of course.
And the cost for you is that your body will now be shared by tens of thousands of
Yeah.
people, not...
Oh my God. Well, it won't, will it? Her image will be shared by tens of thousands of people, just like the image of Charlie's wife was shared by tens of thousands of people. And that's not the same as her having had sex with tens of thousands of people. This is just, it's such a basic argument. It's just so low on intellect. It's just like, you know, if an actress in a Hollywood movie has pretend sex on camera in Steven Spielberg's next movie, and then millions of people watch that movie, did all the people who watch that movie have sex with the actress? No! God, it's like when people, when some sorts of people talk about sex work, it's like they completely lose their minds. It's like they don't have any intellect with which to, with what? I don't have any intellect at all. With which to interpret the fact associated with actually doing sex work. If you're doing online sex work like OnlyFans, nobody has access to your body. They just have access to pictures. Oh, God. Which is the same as if you were a news presenter.
Just your soulmate.
Yeah, yeah.
But don't you feel a little bit of sadness that you wish that your body would just be sold with your future? So,
I did have that mindset, and then like I feel like men actually changed me and turned me into this person. And
who did? A men?
no, like men in general, like they just turned me into this person. I didn't plan my life going this way. It was literally a 1-minute decision, and I thought I might as well. They all view me the same, so spend my life with and do it.
Well,
but I feel like if a man wants to be with me and love me for who I am, then so be it. But if they're going to judge me for what my work is and what I do, then I'm not going to let them in my life.
Yeah.
Right. So the judging is a separate issue. I'm just, do you think the type of man you want, I imagine, is one that tells the truth and that is loyal to you?
Yeah.
That pool of men that you eventually want to have a family with,
yeah.
Do you think they will look fondly upon OnlyFans girls?
I don't know.
No, because it depends on the man, Charlie.
The man that we look so lowly on OnlyFans girls, it's the equivalent to digital prostitution.
Yeah.
So he's just confessed to being prejudiced against a whole group of women. I mean, people. It's not just women who do OnlyFans. And I mean, I feel bad repeating this because it feels like I'm slut-shaming his poor wife who didn't do anything wrong. But he actually did not look on the fact she'd been in a beauty pageant as making her low value. He still wanted to marry her. And so why he can't see that another man might be able to look beyond someone's OnlyFans account and marry them, I just don't know. And I think he probably could see how a man could look beyond it, but he doesn't want to admit to that because he wants to call it prostitution and he wants to treat these women like fallen women. And it is interesting, on a side note, that I'm watching this quite small on my screen, so on this occasion I can't see what the comments are that are coming up from the people watching. This has an overwhelmingly male audience, but all the videos I've seen before from the Whatever podcast, the comments coming in from viewers are extraordinarily harsh towards the women, and not all the women on this show are sex workers by any means, so they often are using very derogatory language about sex work, but often they are also just attacking the way that various women look. They'll accuse them of being anorexic if they're thin, they'll use really hateful language towards them if they're fat, all of this stuff. And I do think it's relevant that Brian Atlas, the host of this, has created this environment. He could choose to not let these comments turn up on the screen. He could disable them, or he could institute a rule where if you say something hateful, you just get blocked. I mean, this would be a very normal thing to do. And it's also interesting that Charlie Kirk will have known that's what the Whatever podcast does. And he is choosing to have a debate with all of these women in an environment where these women will be getting hateful, derogatory comments. He will not be. He'll be getting a whole load of comments, I'm sure, saying, "Win, Charlie." And if you choose to have a debate in a scenario like this, I think you're signing off on the sort of comments that you're getting. Certainly as a YouTuber myself, if I were to make a video where a lot of the comments below my video were really derogatory towards individuals I was discussing, or really personally insulting, I would have something to say about it. I delete comments like that, or I reply to them to refute them. And I do, on a side note, think it's very interesting that Brian, the host, doesn't do that, and that Charlie Kirk has been happy to appear on a podcast where the host doesn't do that.
That's your opinion.
No, it's not.
It is.
It's the average Western male.
It's not.
So if it's
Wait,
like,
what is his opinion?
I mean, it's not an opinion.
Yes.
It is factual that the average Western male looks at OnlyFans no different than an escort service delivered digitally.
Well, isn't it just a
That's not true, but okay. I mean, if you look at the average Western male, the average Western male does not use escorts, but I think these days the average Western male will have looked at OnlyFans. So no, they see it differently. More of them are prepared to use OnlyFans than are prepared to go to escorts, which Charlie Kirk will have known perfectly well.
objectively true?
And I'm not trying to attack either of you. I think you're both victims caught up in this terrible trend. I just want to...
Oh, that's kind of infantilizing. I did wonder why he's chosen such a gentle tone of voice compared to the tone he normally uses. I thought it was because he was talking to women, and I think perhaps it is, but I think it's also because he is talking to women who he considers to be rather stupid, rather childlike victims. And it's interesting to hear OnlyFans being described that way, because OnlyFans was one of the only innovations I have seen in my industry that really put the power in women's hands. Because back in 2003, when I started modelling, the only way I could get paid was by finding a very often male photographer to photograph me and then sell the images on. And OnlyFans made it possible for women to set their own prices, produce their own work to the levels of nudity that they wanted to, and to take control of the means of production. And so particularly saying, oh, it's not your fault, you're a victim of this industry, it's particularly jarring to hear OnlyFans described like that, because it was an absolute innovation in giving performers such power, unprecedented power over the means of production of their own work, and power over or control over their own images. When I started modelling, none of my pictures were copyright to me, because copyright belonged to the photographer. Now, almost all my work is copyright to me. I'm in control.
Ask you, have you thought deeply about how this might get you further from your goal, not closer to your goal?
yeah, like I have definitely thought about that. Like when I first started it, I was like, this comes with like consequences though. So like I obviously thought about it and was like, but I'm going to do this, and obviously it's going to be harder to find a guy to marry, but I'm taking that risk.
Yeah, I've always thought
Yeah.
that. Just taking the risk.
I mean, you only need one. If you're going to make it work, you only need one husband. It's not like you need to have 20% of the population keen to marry you. You just don't.
And I've always been like a risk taker. I don't really care about what anyone else thinks. Like, that's up to you and what you think. But if I think that I can get somewhere by it, then I'm going to do it.
Do you both want children?
Yeah.
Well, I do, but I don't know if I can.
You mean physically, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you were to have children and you were to go to your first grader's career day and you were to present to a bunch of first graders, how would you describe what you do to a bunch of first graders?
Well, I don't think that would be really appropriate, would it? I mean, but there's an awful lot of jobs that wouldn't really be appropriate to explain to a first grader. I mean, I really wouldn't want to explain being in the military to a first grader, except in the most euphemistic of language. But honestly, if you wanted to explain being an OnlyFans model to a young child, it's modelling, so you can explain that. I get paid to take photographs of myself and I sell the photographs. That would do it. Just like if you were Cindy Crawford, you would explain your job to your children by saying, I let people take my photograph, that's how I make money. I don't think this is kind of beyond the wit of man to work out.
Well, I don't think that I'll still be doing OnlyFans when I do have kids. I feel like that's something that I would stop before I did have kids.
Yeah.
Just so like it's not like, obviously like the internet is always going to be there, but
The internet is forever.
Yeah, but I feel like it's something that I would stop before I did have children, kind of thing.
Can I ask approximately? I have no idea. How much money do you earn annually? Is that okay to ask? I'm just curious.
So in the last 6 months, I've earned over $115,000.
US dollars or
AUS.
AUS. So what is
Yeah.
that conversion rate? Like 80%?
So like so it was
You
like
can buy like a croissant or something with that.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think it's 80,000 American, right? About?
yeah,
Is that correct?
yeah. I think so.
I'm guessing. I don't know.
That's
Okay.
in 6
No.
months.
Yes.
So you're projected to have like over 180,000 by next year. 160.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you have more on that?
No, I just want to make sure everybody watching and you guys all think deeply about that.
This channel, the Whatever Podcast, loves to ask women how much money they make. And I've never seen them answer any questions about how much money they make. I'd like to know, how much does Brian Atlas make from the Whatever Podcast? It's going to be a large amount given his viewing figures. How much did Charlie Kirk make? But it's very strange. I mean, I don't think it's the main problem with this, but it is a very strange thing that they feel pretty comfortable asking women to talk about this, specifically sex workers to ask about this. I don't think if these were a whole bunch of corporate lawyers, Charlie Kirk would have asked the same question. Interesting how they feel like that's kind of knowledge they have a right to when they're not going to disclose that information about themselves. It's interesting because I think it suggests that they don't really see OnlyFans performers as having an actual job. I feel like they treat it as though they're asking a lottery winner how much they won because, well, it was nothing to do with you anyway, it was just luck, whereas that really isn't the case for any kind of sex work or performance.
And how men view not just OnlyFans culture, but you all said marriage, and some of you said marriage and kids is the most important thing, but far too often our actions and what we do every day is actually not getting us closer to our stated goal.
Well, you can say that to the subscribers too, who subscribe to their.
I think
contribute to their pockets, but that's what I mean.
They should be.
How can we find husbands in our 20s, in our early 20s? I'm not in my early 20s, but how could we find husbands if they're busy subscribing to OnlyFans chicks?
Yeah, well, not every man is.
I mean, I suppose I should criticise the women too. I mean, I don't think looking at OnlyFans will stop men from wanting actual relationships. It probably stops some of them, but I think your average man will notice the difference between looking at someone's OnlyFans and having an actual physical relationship. I think we're maybe not giving men enough credit if we think that they might be kind of lulled into just staying at home and watching porn and thinking it's the same as being able to go out on dates and go on holiday with your girlfriend and get married. I mean, I think they'll notice that they're missing out on something if all they do is look at porn.
And that's a really good question. So where did all the good men go? I talk about this in my book, actually. The first piece of advice I have for young ladies is do not post suggestive material of yourself online. Men want what they cannot see and cannot have. Mystery.
Except Charlie Kirk, who married a bikini model. Okay.
Is lacking in the West. Mm-hmm. And I know this is lost on a lot of young ladies. They say, the more I post of myself on, with a bikini on the beach, the more men will like you. No, I mean, the more they'll want to have sex with you, but then they'll look at you as just a visual or a commodity, not as a future soulmate. Mm-hmm. The second part.
Again, his future soulmate is all over the internet in a bikini, looking fantastic. It didn't stop Charlie Kirk from marrying her.
Is, to be perfectly honest with you, religious men check a lot of the boxes that you guys are looking for. I know that. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
No, because religious men, by and large, would not be nice about them being OnlyFans performers. So, no, that's nonsense.
I feel like that's one reason why I was able to find men like that. It's because even though they weren't conservative, they still had very, very deep religious values.
Can you tell me more? That's so interesting.
Mainly Catholic. I'm also Catholic.
Yeah. So, and they believed in the God, right? They wanted to have a family.
Yeah, they didn't necessarily read the Bible word for word every day, but they followed the Bible.
So would you say that's, if you're looking to find a man in the West and it's your number one priority, and you were given a random selection of a Catholic man or kind of a femboy atheist, you would take the Catholic?
Yeah, I would.
Would you?
Because atheists are... Did he say femboy? So your options are a Catholic or a femboy atheist. What about a masculine atheist or a femboy Catholic? We're not being given these options. Good Lord, it's so polarising. Lordy.
The Catholic, yes. I think femboy atheist is so
So
funny.
how many of you are then going to church actively trying to find a man?
I mean, I don't need to.
I also
Well, I know, but
I didn't meet any of my boyfriends
Okay,
in
fair
church,
enough.
and I feel like I wouldn't have, if I'm gonna be honest. I feel like you can meet a really religious man outside of church.
fair enough. Yeah.
You just have to find where you guys both coincide, and yeah, like at the library, studying for your exams, for example.
I actually recommend to my single friends to find men in the church because
I agree.
usually stand-up guys, typically.
Yeah, and I mean, there's exceptions to every rule. And so my advice to my 2 Australian friends is that if you want the thing that is the most important thing to you, start making those decisions younger than older, because you might end up be filled with a lot of money and a lot of regret.
Oh my goodness me. So that was Charlie Kirk. Oh my God. So I don't think Charlie Kirk behaved badly towards those women, and I'm glad to see that. I don't think he was abusive towards them in tone. And it's very interesting that neither was Brian, whereas when Andrew Wilson is a guest on the Whatever podcast, the tone becomes a lot closer to what I would just call verbally abusive. So I'm glad that he was courteous, but I don't think he said a single thing that made any sense. So my opinion of him as an expert in sex work, as I am, he just had nothing, as far as I can see, of any perspicacity to add to a discussion about sex work. I either think he had misunderstood what OnlyFans was, or he was being deliberately obtuse in his comparing it to escorting. And by the way, I'm not saying this because I think there's anything wrong with escorting, but to pretend that a job that you do in your bedroom on your own is the same as a job where you go and meet people for in-person sex work, I just think it just does a huge disservice to. I think it's just a very crude comparison. I just don't think there's much merit in that comparison at all. You can be disapproving of someone selling naked pictures of themselves, but sort of to pretend it equates to having actual sex with people, which comes along with a whole load of other potential problems, I just think it's very unhelpful. I think what they're trying to do is force OnlyFans models to share the stigma of in-person sex workers. And honestly, as a sex worker, I'm very happy to share the stigma, because I think if we all share the stigma, perhaps we can address it and diminish it more. But it's interesting that I never hear conservative commentators saying that in-person sex work is a bit like modelling, isn't it? And if those two things really were similar, perhaps we would see it go the other way. But as it is, it never goes that way. It's always them trying to claim that the sex workers working in the safer, more gentrified areas of the industry are 304s. Just don't think it's very helpful. So, I, of course, am sorry that Charlie Kirk was assassinated. And I have certainly heard people who were a great deal more inappropriate in their questioning of OnlyFans performers than Charlie Kirk was. I'm glad that his tone was relatively respectful, but nothing he said, in fact, was very respectful of them. So those are my thoughts. I do want to talk more about the Whatever podcast, because I do have a hideous fascination with it, and I wish that my picture-in-picture would have allowed me to see the comments that were being made by the people watching at the time, because if I had to bet money on what they were saying, I would say there'd be a lot of "win, Charlie," and "loser 304 will never get a husband," and "oh, you're anorexic," and "oh, you're fat." That would be my guess. So, thanks as always for watching. I will be back with more. As always, I'm Ariel Anderson, and these are my Twilight years. Goodbye now.